Alright, so in this video, we're going to be talking about how Ethan Klein got destroyed on Twitter after he gave his take on all the Will Smith and Chris Rock drama. And then he went on his podcast and he's all worked up about it and he wanted to argue with everybody. And he had some of his fans call in to debate with him and he got annoyed at them and would talk over them. And now, of course, some of his fans are really upset with him and they didn't like how he treated the callers. And I think he snapped at him again. He just gets way too worked up about every little thing at this point, and his audience does too. He always gets mad at his audience for being too toxic and trying to police everything he does, but they're only like that because he's like that. You know, this is the kind of audience he's going for. Alright, so now let's get into how he handled the whole Chris Rock and Will Smith incident. And I'm going to start with the first tweet he put out about it. He said, "Will Smith is just a walking L. Ever since his wife decided to start weekly humiliating him on her Facebook show, Prob should deal with whatever trauma he has with her instead of punching Chris Rock in the face for an extremely tame joke. He needs to be escorted out of the Oscars." So that's the big tweet that he got ratioed on. Somebody quote tweeted him and said, "He defended his wife, something I know you aren't familiar with." And when I took a screenshot of this, it had 170,000 likes. And Ethan's tweet, I think, only had like 20 or 30,000. And it's funny because I do somewhat agree with Ethan's take on the Will Smith stuff, but I also think Ethan just takes things way too far. It seems like whenever somebody does something wrong or makes a mistake, Ethan has to let him hear it the most, and he has to be the first one to give a really strong opinion. Like, I completely agree. Will Smith is in the wrong in that situation. He looked like a complete idiot. He should not have done that. He took things way too far, and you can't just go around hitting people like a stand-up comedian for making a joke. And if that were anybody else at a show, a comedy show, and they went up and hit a comedian, they'd be arrested. And I've seen a lot of people have some really bad takes on the situation. But also at the same time, I just don't even care at this point. I think it's just stupid and people have such strong opinions and you're never going to get through to anybody. And there's so much speculating. No one really knows exactly what happened there. So right now, I don't think it's worth really taking that strong of a stance. You know, maybe eventually I'd think it'd be worth arguing over, but at this point I just think it's funny. I think it's worth laughing at. I mean, this is going to go down as one of the greatest moments ever. So with that tweet that Ethan put out, I do somewhat agree with it, but I also think he's just too worked up about it. I think it's not that serious. Like, right when it happened, you should just be laughing at it and joking about it. Ethan just thinks he knows exactly what's going on in every situation, and he's got the best take, and he's got the strongest opinion, and he just needs to chill out once in a while. Like, he probably should have sat this one out because he did not handle this ratio well. So after the person said he defended his wife, something that you're not familiar with, which I'm pretty sure is referencing Trisha Paytas talking shit about Eli, because while she was on Frenemies, she said a lot of mean shit about Ela, and it was very clear she did not like her, but Ethan had no problem keeping Trisha around. So after Ethan got ratioed, I think it did have an impact on him, because even on his podcast, he said he was losing his mind afterwards, because, I mean, that's a lot of likes.
That tells a different story.
And looking at Twitter, by the way, did you show the one? I wanted to show the ones that I got ratioed on, because, like, that was making me lose my mind on Twitter.
The guy who said, you don't know anything. Well, we talked about it. Somebody who said, you don't know anything about defending your wife.
Yeah, and it had like 120,000 likes. I was just so confused.
Yeah.
And then I guess
it's just a pile on. People, if anybody who watches the show knows that's not true. You stand up for you all the time.
So I think that tweet that ratioed him just really shows how many people are not a big fan of his, because I think a lot of people would somewhat agree with his take on the whole situation with Chris Rock, but when they saw this tweet dunking on him, obviously they're going to share it and they're going to like it because they just don't like Ethan Klein. So then after this, Ethan decided to start putting out more tweets. And like I said, in a situation like this, maybe you should just sit it out and just try to joke about it instead of really trying to take it seriously, even though I know a lot of people are, and a lot of people have bad takes. But I don't know, this issue is just kind of weird because it's hard to tell what the woke take is in this situation, because I feel like you can't really tell what people are going to think. People on the far left and people on the far right could have the same opinion on this. I really don't know what the consensus is. So I think if Ethan starts to have the opinion as some people on the right, obviously people are going to start calling people on the right racist and stuff for saying that, like, Will Smith has to be locked up or something. And of course, Ethan is supposed to be this social justice warrior, politically correct person now. And if he's going to have this strong of opinion on a topic that people see as very controversial, then Ethan's going to be playing a dangerous game. Like just on his podcast that we're going to be checking out here in a second, he was saying some stuff that you really got to be careful with what you're saying with a politically correct crowd that expects you to be very sensitive to social issues and everything. And this Jordan Peterson tweet pretty much says it all. This is going to age like fine wine. It pretty much says if you engage in cancel culture, they're going to come for you eventually, and we're already seeing that. Like every week, Ethan gets criticized by his own fans, and they're upset with him for being offensive, and you can tell he's just so sick of it, and he cannot handle any criticism, and he just does not want to hear it. But this is his fan base, and this is the kind of culture he created. So after Ethan put out a few more tweets about the Chris Rock situation, then Ela put out a tweet, and she said, "My husband should punch somebody for me if he really loves me, right? So I can feel safe and secure, and I should go back in the kitchen while he goes to work and provides for me, right? Hell yeah, good day for us women." I think instead of Ela putting out this tweet, she should have just taken Ethan's phone away. Like that would have been the best thing to do. These aren't really helping you, putting out these tweets. Like this is just kind of cringy. And then of course it leads to something like this. Her getting ratioed just like Ethan from the same person, I think it is. This person, they posted this old tweet where it said, "Twitter's the only place where articulated sentences will still get misinterpreted. You can say, 'I like pancakes,' and somebody will say, 'You hate waffles?' No, bitch, that's a whole new sentence. What the fuck are you talking about?" Because this guy originally just said that Will Smith was defending his wife, something that Ethan doesn't do. And then Ela just started going off on all this other stuff. And the person that said this, the person that ratioed them both, you know, I don't even know what they think about this issue. They could think that Will Smith was out of line, but they just want to take this opportunity to make Ethan look like an idiot. And I think that's the big takeaway here. People do not like Ethan and Ela, really, because these tweets are good, but this was a surprisingly massive ratio. And this Twitter account that posted these, I think they have like less than 1,000 followers. All right, so then this is where Ethan really starts to lose me, where like I do not agree with what he's saying really at all. So he responded to Ela after Ela said, "I'm proud to say my husband wouldn't have done this on live television for the world to see. My husband would have used the platform like Will a few minutes later to spit some fire onto the mic like a badass." And then Ethan commented under this and said, "If you defend your wife with violence and anger, then you will probably argue with your wife in violence with anger." And everyone was making fun of this tweet. Everyone thought it was out of line because it's just not the best idea to speculate that this guy could be violent with his wife at home just because he defended her with violence. And like I said, I do not agree with what Will Smith did. It was really messed up. He should not have done that. It was so immature, and I think he's just pathetic. But that doesn't mean he's violent all the time, and he's violent towards his wife. And also, sometimes if you're defending your wife, violence is justified. And again, not in this situation, but there are situations, obviously. So I think this is a pretty ridiculous tweet. And I feel like Ethan always has to put out ridiculous tweets when he's like trying to criticize somebody, because it just seems like he's trying to get the most attention and he wants people to talk about him so they pay attention to his take on the situation and he can get more viewers on his podcast. And I don't know if that's actually true. I don't know if he's that calculated, but some of these tweets just seem ridiculous. And it's like, what are you trying to do here? You know this sounds stupid. All right, so now let's get to his podcast where he's talking about the situation. And he has one of his fans call in and he talks to this black girl who is more sympathetic towards Will Smith. And I think she just says that they're both in the wrong here. And her and Ethan kind of argue about it. And Ethan talks over her and he's just getting really annoyed. And I don't think the fans really like that.
Into why the black community is overwhelmingly in support of Will in this situation, if that's
Holy
cool.
Shit.
I love that reaction from him. That's hilarious. And see, he's playing a dangerous game here because his fans are like crazy social justice people. And if he's like going against the black community's opinion on a topic about two black people, where I saw people on Twitter saying, if you're a white person, you shouldn't comment on this issue. So if you're going to be some virtue signaling social justice warrior and go for that crowd, you got to be careful with what you're saying here.
You know, physical
fight.
And a lot of people are on the side of Will because of the racialized context that I broke down.
How is it good to portray, like, you've got a disagreement, right, between two black men?
Yeah.
And you're saying there's a lot of history behind it. How is one of them acting out in violence in public a good perception for humans or for black men or anyone? I mean, this is the first thing we learn as kids growing up, is that you don't hit people who say things to you you don't like. I mean, stick rubber and glue and all that bullshit, right? Like, I'm sorry, but how
Totally.
I just don't understand. Knowing all that, okay, it just seems horrible. And he seems unhinged. It wasn't like a calculated thing. I mean, I get it. He's angry, right? You got all this history.
Right.
He just looks like an unhinged lunatic. And then there's people giving him a standing ovation. I mean, what the fuck? And what about...
I mean, obviously...
Go ahead.
You want to go? You can go.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
You want me to go? Okay, sorry. Obviously to you...
See, I think this is pretty crazy because, I don't know, but I'd imagine Ben Shapiro probably has the same opinion as this. Like, this sounds like stuff Ben Shapiro would say. So it's going to be really interesting seeing all this play out because, for once, people with different political opinions have the same take on the situation. Like, usually everyone goes to their side and then they start arguing. But with this, I don't know who's on what side. So Ethan was talking about this for like maybe an hour or two on his podcast. And, you know, he's got to be careful because he just kept saying, you know, the joke that Chris Rock made, that was tame, that was nothing, which I would agree. I don't think Chris Rock said that to like be mean or anything. I think he honestly just wasn't even thinking and said some stupid joke. But if you're going to be Ethan and have this audience where these people are really sensitive, clearly, and they get worked up about issues like this and making fun of people for how they look and things like that, I don't think a lot of them are going to agree with you that that joke was okay or in good taste. So now I'm going to jump ahead to another caller that they had on, and Ethan just like flips out at this person. He just starts arguing with her and he just seems really angry and then he just hangs up.
I don't get it.
Yeah,
the consequence of this is fucked. Comedians now are going to go to stand up, and anytime someone's girl gets offended, which, by the way, these poor defenseless women, they need men to defend them. Do you not feel insulted that you need a man? You can't speak for yourself. You need a man to fucking stand up for you. Hey, you better not go to a comedy show by yourself, Channing, because God forbid the comedian makes some joke about you. What are you going to do if there's not a man up there to go up and slap him in the fucking face? Oh, it's just a bitch slap, though, so don't worry about it. Thank you, Channing.
That is awesome. I mean, this is probably one of the best H3 podcasts in a while. Like, he was just losing it. And this is why you can't take these issues too seriously. This is what happens. Like, he is losing his mind over this. And I agree with some of the stuff he's saying. But right now, I feel like it's easier just to laugh at it. You know, you can give your opinion, but it's really not worth talking about for like an hour and a half on your podcast and arguing with everybody. It's just like, this is nonsense. This is bullshit. It's really... I mean, it's fucked up that Will Smith hit him. It's not a good look. Like, people should not be condoning that, but it's not the end of the world. And that was entertaining shit. It's awesome watching these Hollywood goofballs make a fool out of themselves. Like, Will Smith was destroyed on Twitter. People are making so many jokes about him and his wife and how his wife cheated on him and everything. All right, so now I'm going to play another part of the podcast where AV was trying to, like, push back a little bit or something. I don't remember, but... he was trying to speak up, and Ethan just shut him down like he does every podcast.
It's complicated. It's
not complicated.
I mean, no, there's no excuse. He's in the wrong 100%. There's no excuse for violence.
It's not complicated. It's not.
Violence is never the answer.
I'm sorry. It's not complicated.
No,
it's simple as fuck.
No, you're.
It's
no, I'm not
simple
saying
as
that.
fuck.
I mean, I'm afraid to speak.
Then don't. Because you know what I'm saying? Don't fucking mince words now. Okay?
You just don't do that to people, especially in a setting like that. I mean, you just...
See, if you're getting that worked up over this already, like, you got to take it easy a little bit. And obviously I understand that it's annoying that people are on Will Smith's side and they don't think he did anything wrong. But to get this worked up over it and start yelling at your employees like that, I don't know. I just think it's such a stupid issue right now. And... obviously, I understand people want to debate it and it's fun to argue and everything, but I just think having such a strong opinion and not wanting to listen to anybody else probably isn't the best idea right now, especially if you're somebody like Ethan Klein who panders to the left so much. All right, so now I just want to look at some Reddit comments under the post where they uploaded the new podcast to a subreddit. This person said, with peace and love, Ethan calls people on the sub sensitive when they call him out and then throws a fit and talks over callers when they disagree with him. See, I feel like every day more and more people are realizing the hypocrisy of Ethan. Here's another post. This person said, "Why have people call in if Ethan is clearly unwilling to debate? Ethan is so unwilling to have a conversation during this episode. He just keeps talking over people and being very rude to these people who are probably so excited to speak with him. I also feel bad for the crew. I mean, what kind of workplace are you creating when employees are scared to speak? They really should just change the subject. If you can't even listen to the other points of view respectfully, this episode is putting a bad taste in my mouth." And then here's one other post. This person said, "Okay, legit question. If Ethan is so against violence, then why did he keep having Trisha on frenemies after he saw the photo of bruises Moses had on his body because of her?" See, Ethan, he just needs to know when to sit things out. Like, dude, you put up with Trisha Paytas's behavior for 8 months or something like that. That's not the best look because you let her get away with way too much. And now whenever you call someone else out, there's usually some dirt on you that they could just throw back in your face. Alright, so that's about it for this video. Thanks for watching. Make sure you leave me a comment, then hit the like button, then the subscribe button, and I'll catch you at the next video.